another Legacy Travel Top 5, and this time we're going to be talking about best 5 advice you can give to someone new to cruising or going on their first cruise. And this time I've got Leslie with us and Alyssa. So anyway, we love cruising and think it's something that people should definitely try, and so here's some tips if you're new to it. So I'll go first, you go on mine. My number 5 pick is, you may hear, you may read online, so-called friends may tell you, when you're going on a Caribbean cruise, you don't need a passport. Take a passport. Get a passport. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a very different conversation if you're on a foreign island and for whatever reason something goes horribly wrong and the ship leaves, or let's say you get sick and stay on the island. Getting back in the U.S., it's a completely different conversation to say, my passport's on the cruise ship because I got stuck on the island, and the State Department looks up and finds copies of your passport as saying, I don't have a passport to get back in the U.S., here's my birth certificate. That's not going to go well at all. You don't know what's going to happen, get a passport. Even if it's not on your person, the State Department is much more forgiving when it's like, it's on the cruise ship and I got stuck on the island. Much better situation than I don't have a passport.
Yeah,
passport. You.
My number 5 is the rooms are a lot smaller than your average hotel
And
room.
you're 100% correct.
A lot smaller. And so technically most of the rooms will hold up to 4 people, but what you're working with then are essentially 2 bunk beds that have barely any space. I just can't even imagine doing it. So if you can avoid it, try not to book 4 people into a room. If you have little children, that's a whole other thing, but they are so much smaller. Like, we're talking, I think, probably around 150 to 250 maybe square feet. So just think that through when you're making your decision on your room.
Very good point. However small you think that cruise cabin is going to be, it's probably smaller than you think. So yeah, it's a very, very good point.
My number 5 is, as soon as your cruise is booked, go ahead and set up your cruise profile so you can start exploring what's on board, the excursions that are offered in each port. Really just get to know the ship on paper, if you will. Even if you don't book excursions right away, having an idea of what you want to do, because sometimes 2 ports are very similar. So maybe you want to snorkel here and scuba here, but maybe one is only offered in one place. Just kind of organizing your ideas of what you want to do before you go. That's my number 5. I think it's super helpful.
Starting to not have comments on my list because the things that y'all said really weren't on my list, and they both should have been. So you're exactly right. Those are both very good points. Your number 4, Miss Alyssa.
My number 4 is, be aware of what's additional and be aware of what's included. Cruising is very inclusive in the fact that most of your meals are included. There are more activities than you can possibly imagine to do on board. So be aware of those things, take advantage of it, but also be aware there are things that are additional costs that can definitely add up. Things such as beverage packages. Depending on the cruise line, that will determine what's included, what's not. But if you're a soda drinker, if you like to have wine with dinner, just make sure you know what your particular cruise line includes in your cruise fare. Gratuities are another one, again, depending on the cruise line, how inclusive it is. Often there is a per person per day, or to charge for your stateroom hostess that cleans the room and the dining room attendants. So little things like that, short excursions, specialty dining, all things that you likely will want to do when you're on board, that you need to factor into the big picture.
Cost. Yes.
So my number 4 was, I said don't, but try not to overpack. I'm very guilty of this every trip I take. But as Alyssa said, the rooms are not large, so if you pack 2+ suitcases and you have to store them plus all the clothes you brought in them, it can get a little, everything's just a little crammed. So if you're going on a Caribbean cruise, chances are you're going to be in sandals, wedges, something of the sort the whole time. You don't need all these different heels or tennis shoes, unless you just want to, but pack accordingly, especially footwear, because it takes up so much room. If you're going on a European cruise or a Mediterranean cruise, chances are you're going to be out walking every day, so maybe pack less of the sandals and more of the comfy shoes. On board, if you have days at sea, you're probably going to be at the pool or something like that the whole time. You don't need crazy, prom dresses and things like that. So I'm very guilty of it, which is why I can say it. But try not to overpack. Try to plan your days and pack accordingly, so you're not bringing all this stuff on board that you're never going to wear.
I would love to be able to carry on for every trip. That would be make me very, very happy. Make me very happy. My number 4 is going to be seasickness. As far as it's not a horrible issue, but if you're not sure, go ahead and try to prevent it. And there are a lot of things you can do. You've got the Dramamine. They have non-drowsy Dramamine, which is not non-drowsy, it's less drowsy Dramamine. But you also have things like the patch you can get for behind your ear. Is that prescription, or is that, you gotta get a prescription for that, but it's easy to get. And they have these wristbands. I wear a wristband, and it's acupressure. They got a little bump here, and it puts pressure there. And so I don't get seasick. Would I get seasick without the wristband? I got no idea, because I'm not gonna try. Because I'm wearing the wristband each time. Because here's the thing I do know, is that it's much easier to prevent the seasickness ahead of time. Once you're seasick, that's harder to overcome. It's harder to get back on top of it. So I'm always taking the wristband with me, always wearing it. What's really interesting to me is a lot of times I have more trouble when I get home than on the ship itself. On the ship I'm fine. When I get home, I'm walking into walls and stuff the next day or two because my equilibrium's a little bit off. But yeah, do things to prevent it ahead of time. Number 3?
My number 3, so it kind of goes with the packing thing. Even if you are packing a very large checked bag, keep a small bag with you when you get on board. Like maybe with a couple toiletries or a change of clothes if you want to go to the pool. I've experienced this firsthand where my bags got, not lost, but they got delivered to my room at about 10 p.m. one night. And my friends and I thought it would be really funny to get on board with those long t-shirts that make it look like you're wearing bikinis, like thong bikinis. So we were stuck in those from about noon to 10 p.m. We had to go to dinner in them. We had to just, browse through the ship with them. So if you can pack, just a change of clothes or something to freshen up, just a little toiletry bag to keep with you once you're on board, because they'll deliver your checked bag to your room. I find that very helpful.
That's funny. Very funny.
Good memories.
So they mentioned a little bit about shore excursions, and those are the trips that the little tours you take when you're in the destination, the island or whatever. The things that people may not realize is that you don't have to get those through the cruise line. And I recommend you not to do it through the cruise line. There are independent companies that do that, and these guys can hook you up with that. But what's shocking to me is that most times getting them through the cruise line is a lot more expensive. And the other thing is that it's a lot more crowded. It doesn't go hand in hand, but that's the way it is. If you do the independent ones, you're doing maybe a similar tour, but you're doing it for 60% of the price that is on the cruise, and instead of being with 100 people, you're with like 15 people on this tour. So it's a much better experience, and you can get it set up ahead of time, and the cruise line's going to charge you a lot more for it. So talk to these guys about the independent ones, and we have companies where we can send you the list of all the tours at each of the stops you're going on, and you can look up through it and compare and contrast. But really consider doing it with a third party instead of doing it with the cruise line itself.
My number 3 is one that's already been said, but I think it's just important enough to reiterate, is the passport. I've had clients that have missed the ship and didn't have their passport, and just don't cause yourself that trauma on your vacation. Like that was not a fun day for them, and fortunately I was able to work on their behalf to get them to the next port, but could have been a lot easier if there was a passport involved. So I just can't nail that down enough.
What is your number 3?
I did number 3.
Oh, you did 3? Okay, so
yeah, 2.
I'm not keeping.
Did you do 3?
I started number 3.
Okay, then I'll do number 2. And this one's been brought up also, is the onboard charges. So some of the cruise lines, I think I'll say mass market and premium, and those are guys like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Line, Celebrity, Princess, Holland America, those type cruise lines. A lot of their revenue and profitability is based on onboard charges. So they're going to make it very easy to spend money on ship using your key card or your medallion, whatever you have. Their profitability is based on it. and it can add up quick. I mean, really, really quick. So you've got to be very, very careful with that. You know, you can go on board and not spend a dime, but you got to work at it. So really budget it carefully. Don't make my mistake. I was on a cruise one time, and our onboard charges just about equal the cost of the cruise itself when it was all said and done. Don't do that anymore. But yeah, the onboard charges, you know, there's a reason they make it so easy to buy stuff. Be very careful. It can ruin your trip.
Yeah, it can. Yes.
What you got for number 2?
My number 2 is coming the day before the cruise. Again, just allows yourself time in case something happens. If your plane's delayed, you know, you don't want to be biting your fingers leading up to the cruise, you know, wondering if you're going to make the ship. So if you come in the day before, that avoids that issue altogether. So if at all possible, get in the day before your cruise.
Good idea.
Yes, my number 2 is arrive to the cruise port early.
Okay.
So early enough to be, what I think is fun is when you first get on the ship, even if your room's not ready, because it's kind of like a hotel, they're still turning it from the last people who left the cruise ship. Even if your room's not ready, you can still start exploring the ship. One thing I always hate is when I get on a boat or a ship for a couple days, and then 4 days into my trip, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that restaurant was even there. I had no idea that bar was even there. So if you get on early before, not necessarily before everybody else, but you know, while everybody's going for the lunch buffet because they're on board, start walking around the ship, exploring, maybe explore the different decks, find, you know, the coolest bars and restaurants, even if they're not open, just locating them. Also, if you like to take part in the activities like the shows, maybe finding the theater, just kind of finding those little places that you know you're going to want to visit while you're on board before the rest of the ship discovers them. I love that.
And I 100% agree with that. I love exploring the ship. The one warning I will give you, and this is my opinion, but on, again, the mass market premium ships, Royal Caribbean, NCL, Celebrity, Princess, those guys, when you get on early, you explore it and stuff, in my opinion, the worst meal you're going to have that whole week is that lunch.
Yeah.
That first lunch is just a train wreck. And they do the best they can, but you've got all these people, and it's usually like one restaurant open, maybe 1 or 2, and they are slamming that restaurant at the same time, and they're making announcements saying, please, if you're through your lunch, please get up and give to
Like they've never eaten before.
Oh, I know. And the staff's doing the best they can but you know, those restaurants are designed, it's a fascinating, almost mathematical equation, how we'll have this many this time, this many this time, and it's a well-oiled machine. That one day, everybody hits that one restaurant. Holy cow, man, they're just trying to survive. So when you're on board, you explore, and you have that first lunch, don't be discouraged. Don't be like, why did we do this? This is horrible. It gets much better. The food gets much, much better at that point. Yeah, I agree. I love it this morning.
Add something off
Please.
of the explore the ship. Multiple times I've gotten on board the ship early and started exploring, and they're like, oh, we're doing a raffle in this spa. And twice I think I've won like $100 spa certificate just for being present and kind of
Nice.
You know, so see what's going on. Sometimes they'll have discounted things going on. And again, it just doesn't hurt to see what's happening.
Yeah.
This isn't on my list, but you said that. As far as look also at spa, look at the specialty restaurants too, especially restaurants that they're going to charge you for it. On some cruise ships, they've had a deal where the first night, because no one signs up for specialty restaurant the first night, sometimes they've got them discounted that first night. So if you're exploring, stop by the specialty restaurant and see if they got a discount on that also.
Yeah.
That was on my list, but yeah, I think it's time for your number 1.
Thinking of other things too. My number 1 is know your cruise line and talk to your travel advisor about what the best cruise line will be for what you're looking for. Because if you are a honeymooning couple and want to be away from kids and relaxing, you might not want to be on Disney. Or if you are looking to relax again, you might not want to do Carnival and have it be a little more rowdy and party. You know, it just depends on what you're looking for, and there is a cruise for everybody. And you know, if you're not a big ship person, don't eliminate cruising from the picture altogether. River cruising is a completely different experience, and definitely something to try. So just have an idea, just have a conversation. You might, you know, find out more information that helps direct you, but just have an open mind and be vocal about what you're looking for.
I can't believe that went on my list. That's probably the most important thing, and that's not on my list. Elaborating on that, one time we had a client who we knew, and I think my wife Kathy is the one that booked him. this guy, you know, good old boy, and had gotten into this business and did very, very well, very well. But he wore his overalls and that kind of thing, and so his wife wanted to go on a cruise, and they could have afforded easily the 5-star Regent Crystal type thing. They would have been miserable because they were not, you know, that just wasn't their people. And so she says, we're going to put you on Carnival, and you're going to have a great time, and put them on the nicest cabins you go to Carnival. But you know, he could have afforded the luxury stuff, but Kathy was right. That they would have not enjoyed the people on that ship. So you're right. Know your people. Talk to an advisor. Can't believe one on our list. Should have been on our list.
My absolute number one is plan to get there early, the destination early, like a night or two even. I know Alyssa already said it, but planning a pre-night, even 2. If you're going to Europe and you're departing out of Venice or something, maybe you want 2 nights, great. But it's I've witnessed it more times than not where there are delays, cancellations, and you don't even end up in the cruise port until the day that you're departing. So if you didn't even have that pre-night scheduled, you would have arrived the day after you were departing. So just having, even if you're going to Miami or Galveston even, which is right down the road, just having a pre-night, it starts your entire trip off on the right foot. I find that when one thing goes wrong, everything goes wrong. So if you're already starting bad with a negative light, you know, negative attitude in your mind, then the rest of the trip is just going to be that way too. So just take that stress off of yourself. Plan to fly in or drive in a day early just to relieve that stress and pressure from the whole trip.
Absolutely. And so obviously we don't ever compare lists because like they mentioned things that should have been on mine, wasn't on mine. But mine, number one, absolute number one is get there at least a night ahead of time. You said it for number 2, you said it for number 1.
Yeah.
You've got to do it. We have got staff meeting tomorrow night, and the topic on that is to reiterate, we're getting pretty much to the point that we're not going to sell a cruise. We're not going to go in the night before, for all the reasons that she said. But even if somehow miraculously you knew your flight was going to get there on time, still do a pre-night. When you do the pre-night, get on the ship. You had a nice night sleep, you slept late, you had a big breakfast so you could avoid that horrible first lunch. And a fun game to do is looking around the ship. You find who did fly in today, because they are harried looking. I mean, they have been through the ringer and they are miserable, they're exhausted, they're grumpy, they're yelling at their kids. They're the ones that came in that day, and they're going to miss the first night because they're going to go to bed at 8 and try and catch up for the next day. But absolutely do.
That's another point. If you are flying to Europe, having a pre-night, if you're flying in the morning of, you're going to be so jet lagged. You're not even going to enjoy the first probably 2 days of your cruise.
It's going to be a mess.
So yeah, especially Europe, do it 1 or 2 just so you can get past that jet lag before it even starts.
I mean, it's on my sapling list. We are going to do it for every single cruise. It's going to be a thing where if we don't do it, you got to have an extremely good reason.
Yeah.
Or we're not doing a pre-night there. It has to be a very good reason.
I have one honorable mention.
Please.
I thought of it, and
Absolutely.
I think it's actually really important.
Absolutely.
Just in the scheme of things, your phone probably isn't going to work. I don't think everyone thinks about that, but depending on the cruise, you know, you're going to be at sea, you're away from cell phone towers. So if you're banking on being connected, whether to talk to family or to work from the ship, consider getting a Wi-Fi package, and even still, don't anticipate it being the same connectivity that you're used to at home.
And it's going to be pricey.
Yeah.
More than likely. Be prepared for that. That'll be pricey.
Not as pricey as your cell phone bill if you don't have it.
Oh, no, you're 100%
Yeah.
right. No, that's 100% right. If you're doing data or anything on that cell phone, you got a problem there. Anyway, so those were great ones. Thank y'all very much for doing that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time on Lacey Travel Top 5.
Bye.